Hi everyone, happy Wednesday. Super excited to be here with you guys tonight. I'm Bev McCullough of Flamingo Toes, and we are doing a fun sew along called Walking on Sunshine. It is a mini quilt in my book, Make It Mini, and this is our first week of sewing. Last week was our kickoff, and we talked about fabrics, and we talked about what you're gonna need to sew along. So if you're just now tuning in, there's still plenty of time to join in. This is a really fun, fast sew along, only 5 weeks. And it's a mini quilt, so it doesn't take a whole long time to make up. So even if you're watching this a month later, these videos will be available for you to watch at any time, so you can join in with us at any time. Super excited to be here with you guys on a Wednesday evening. It's really fun to hang out with you guys in the evening. I want to say hi, see who's here. I always start on Facebook, so let's start on YouTube this week. I am streaming live to both Facebook, in my Facebook group, the Flamingo Toe Stitch and Share Club, and on my YouTube channel. You can find me at Beverly R. McCullough, and both places are linked in the other so that you can watch wherever you prefer. So over on YouTube, Allison's here. She's excited, and Kathy's here. Christine. Janice is here. She says it's snowing on the mountains in Arizona, 20 degrees. My goodness, are you up in Flagstaff, Janice? I went to school in Flagstaff. Or where are you? I would love to know. Sari's here, and Diana, super excited that you're here too. And we have Wendy over on Facebook. Hi, Dawn, and Lindy's here. Carrie's here. Looking forward to tips for curves tonight. Yay, I'm excited too. Hopefully we can get you guys feeling confident. It's just a fun thing. It's a new skill to learn, right? If you haven't ever done it before. If you have done it before, then you'll be, good. It's always good to have a little refresher. I haven't done a whole lot with curves. I just really felt like I wanted to learn, and that's why I kind of taught myself and put this project in the book, because I thought maybe others would feel the same. So I'm excited to show you guys how I do curves, and I'm going to give you guys tips and different ways to make it as successful as possible for you. So, and Sheila's here, Marie, hey all, I'm so excited. Okay, Janice said that her son graduated from Dobson High School. Okay, Janice, that's where I graduated from. How crazy is that? That's awesome, I love it. Super fun to meet a fellow Mustang out there. That's hilarious. Okay, so are you guys ready? Are you excited? I hope you're excited. So this, I always look and see if my Eiffel Towers are upside down or not, and of course, inevitably they are. This is the Walking on Sunshine mini quilt. This is the project that we're doing, and this week we are making the little blocks of our mini quilt, which are basically this shape right here is one block. So there's 16 in the quilt, and you can see that it's a very simple block, just one little curve to it, and that's all there is. But you can arrange them in really cute different ways, and you guys are welcome to play with the layouts of your quilt. I just recommend that these 4 that are in the center right here, you turn them this way. So that allows us to put our embroidered wreath in the center. And we're going to go over that in a couple weeks. I'm going to teach you guys the stitches for that. Now, if you don't want to do the embroidery and you just want to make the mini quilt, then we'll play with some layouts. And you can see that there's some really cute different designs. You can make it so each section has 4 circles. You can turn it so you have like half circles and different things like that. So it's really fun. And like I said, this project is in my book, Make It Mini. Sorry, I have to sort through all these things here. And I'm about to sneeze, y'all. I'm sorry. Okay. Oh, yes. So Lindy asked what fabric line it was, and Wendy answered her. That's correct. Saturday in Paris by Christopher Thompson of Riley Blake Designs. It came out last year, but you can probably still find it, especially if you search on Etsy. If you're looking for a fabric collection, Etsy is a really good place to look because sometimes it sells a little bit slower in some of those smaller shops, so you're a little bit more likely to find some of the fabrics there. So I love that collection with the pinks and the navies, y'all. Is good. It's really cute. Okay, so this is my book, Make It Mini. This is available in my shop. I have it linked for you in the video description. And there are 13 mini quilt projects in here. We've already done one mini quilt out of here. We did it in the fall. You can find the sew along tutorials for that on YouTube you can always find my sew alongs in the playlist section on YouTube. So check that out. And then we are doing the Walking on Sunshine. So this week, let's look at the schedule here, y'all. So this week we are doing the blocks. Next week we are going to sew up the tops of our quilts. And then the week after that, we are going to do embroidery stitches. We're going to go over 3 different stitches that make up the center wreath on there. You can see that in the middle blocks. And those stitches are a back stitch, a satin stitch, and a French knot. We're going to cover them all in 1 week. And but don't let that stress you out. I do have tutorials for each of those that are a little bit more in depth on YouTube as well in my embroidery basics section. So really fun and easy to follow along with. And then the last week, March 8th, we're going to talk about quilting with embroidery, and I'm going to give you some tips. And this is a really easy one to quilt with. If you're careful and you go slow, you can quilt right over the top of this. So but we're going to also talk about some other ways to quilt things if you're worried about quilting over the top. Sorry. And so I just want to make sure let's see, Nobuko's here from Japan. So excited to join live. I'm so excited you're here too. Welcome. And Lisa's here. Hey, Lisa. Laura's here. Jeanette. Oh, I'm so glad you guys are here. Okay, so these are the cute little blocks we're going to make. Aren't they darling? So it's just one simple little block. We're going to talk about the print and the background of that and how to cut out our templates and everything like that. But I think we should do giveaways really quick first. Don't you? I feel like we should. So every week we do a giveaway, and it's just my way of saying thank you guys for tuning in. And they're super easy to enter. All you have to do is comment on the video, and you can do it live or later in the week, and you can do it whether you're watching on YouTube or Facebook. I want to make it as easy as possible for you guys. And of course, international is okay too. I don't mind that. So our kickoff giveaway last week was a copy of, oops, I almost gave away who the winner was. It's a secret. A copy of Make It Mini. So you will get the book and you will be able to sew along. If you already have the book, then you can pick out a couple quilt patterns or cross stitch patterns from my shop. I have the fabric I am sewing with is called At First Sight by, who is this by? Oh, Danny Mogstad. She's a Riley Blake Designs designer. And this is the collection I'm sewing with. And so I gathered up 5-inch stackers for you guys, which is plenty to make a quilt, or you can make up your mini out of this. It doesn't, whatever you want to do. You only need 16 blocks for this quilt, so you would still have most of a 5-inch stacker left over since there's 42 pieces in here. So you can make up pretty much a whole quilt with this. And then, am I holding that up high enough for you? Here are the 5-inch stackers. Hi, Lisa, thank you. I'm so glad you like my hair. And then I also have for you a Liberty of London, very, very cute little pincushion. Y'all, these are darling. I have to take it out of the box so I can show you. It is made with the signature Liberty print. I'll see if I can get a little closer. How cute is that little pretty pincushion? And then there is a felt leaf on top with some stitching on it. And it's a nice weight, and it's just gonna dress up your little sewing station. So I have these 3 things for you guys for this week's giveaway, or last week's giveaway. This week's winner is Lindy Connolly. Lindy, you are our winner this week, and I'm pretty sure I saw Lindy earlier, maybe over on Facebook. So Lindy, if you are here, send me, well, either way, if you're here or you're watching later, I just dropped your pincushion, so sorry about that. It's back in the box. It'll be fine, I promise. It's a pincushion. Send me your mailing address, bev@flamingotoes.com, and I will get that right out to you. Oh, yay, Lindy's here. She's excited. Don't worry about your pincushion, Lindy. Okay, so this week I have for you, you guys know that I love, Riley Blake has put out two Hush Hush 2 collections, which are basically an entire collection of low volume prints, each one designed by a different Riley Blake designer, and they're amazing, you guys. Oh, I hit the mouse. Are we fine? Is everything fine? I didn't do anything weird. So this is Hush Hush 2. This is the second volume. Be on the lookout. There's going to be a Hush Hush 3. But you didn't hear it from me. It's a secret. So you guys, these are such good collections, and all of the prints are really fun. I have some favorites here that I have actually bought entire bolts of because I love them so much. One of them is mine because I'm biased, but the other one, the other favorite that I have that I bought a whole bolt of is Amanda Niederhauser's little tiny cat face, and it's just a very, very sparsely printed little cat face with ears, eyes, nose, and little whiskers, and it's the cutest thing ever if you're a cat lover. So I have that on hand. Let me flip this around so you can kind of see a little bit. I know there's a little bit of a glare, but you can see that they're all low volume prints. You can head to Riley Blake at any time to check out collections. You don't have to be a shop to look at Riley Blake. You have to be a shop to purchase there. But you can see all the fabrics and things like that. And sometimes it's nice to see a good image of things too, you know? So I have a 10-inch stacker for you that is 42 pieces of low volume, definitely enough to do a whole quilt that, you know, would allow you to use a stacker as the background. If you're looking for one, you can check out my Vintage Stars quilt or my Stacking Stars. And my Stacking Stars quilt is the $5 pattern of the month. Every month I do a $5 pattern in my shop. It changes all the time, so it's a really good time to build your pattern library. It's nice to have patterns on hand when you find out you need a quick quilt, or you know, you're just in between projects and you want to make something fun. It's a great way to do that. So I have that linked in today's video description. But the Stacking Stars takes a 10-inch stacker for background, or you can use yardage if you want. And it takes a 10-inch stacker for the blocks. So really easy, really fun to put together. So to go with the stacker, I have my Aurifil thread collection. This is Colorful Vintage. There are 10 spools of embroidery floss in here. It's six strand embroidery floss, but you get more than a regular skein of floss that you would purchase like DMC or something like that. There's 18 yards on each of these wooden spools, which I don't have one handily accessible for you to grab and show you, but we will be stitching with Aurifil for the stitching portion of the quilt along, so I'll be able to show you then. So there's 10 really fun, cute colors in here, and to get you going with your stitching, I really like Lori Holt's, let me hold it up a little closer. There we go, Nifty Needles. She makes a nice variety of needles, and they're all color powder coated on each end. So these are aqua, which of course means they're my favorite, but they're also my favorite because they're really sturdy embroidery needles. I don't like super flimsy embroidery needles because I tend to bend them. Very strong. And so these are really great. I also carry these in my shop if you're looking for a good set of needles that you want to do for your embroidery. So that's this week's giveaway. Don't forget to enter by leaving a comment. I can't enter you if you don't comment because I don't know you're there. So, all right, are you guys ready to sew? I'm ready to sew. Oh, Dorothy says she just got the Aurifil embroidery flocks from Fat Quarter Shop. It's very nice. Thank you, Dorothy. That's awesome. Yay. Dawn says she needs the cat face. You really do, Dawn. It's so perfect for you. It's so perfect. Okay, I just want to make sure that I am not missing anything. Okay. All right, so let's flip cameras here. And let's talk about these cute blocks. I might have a little bit of a shadow. I'm trying to make sure I don't have too crazy in the way of shadows, but it is nighttime. And so the only light in the room, there's no sunlight, obviously, is dark, y'all. So hopefully I don't have too bad of glares or shadows for you guys. If you need me to show you something in a different way, just make sure that you leave it in the comments so that I can try and fix it. Okay, so these are our blocks. These are very simple blocks, you guys, in that there is only one seam per block, and they are a curved seam. So they're really cute. Aren't they fun? I went through my fat quarters. No, it's a 5-inch stacker. I went through my 5-inch stacker and picked my favorite prints, and I even laid them out on my work surface so that I could make sure I had a good blend of prints and I didn't have too many of one color print. And then I took a photo of it so that I can reference it on my phone and put it back together the way I laid it out when before I cut them all up. And that's a kind of just a quick, easy tip. It doesn't have anything to do with sewing, but I do like to lay out a block in colors if I can, and then just take a photo on my phone, because then I don't have to wonder, I don't have to label them for one thing, and I don't have to wonder, oh my gosh, where did that black one go? And then when you sew it together, you've got, four black florals all in a row. Nobody wants that. So just a quick, very unimportant tip, but it's really handy. So I have sewn together 6 of these. These are just so fast and fun, and we're going to sew together at least one more tonight. So in the book, which you do have to purchase to sew along with us, in the book, the Walking on Sunshine quilt is on page 71, and on page 74, you will find the templates and the wreath pattern. So you are going to need both of those in order to join us. Now, if you have purchased the book in hard copy form and you happen to have a printer that makes copies, I recommend that you open up the book, pop it in there, and run a copy. That's going to give you a really accurate copy. Weird, huh? Copy of the paper. So you don't have to really worry about sizing or anything like that. If you don't have a printer that has a scan and copy function, then I would just grab a piece of paper and open up the book and trace the design as carefully as you can. Don't freak out if you don't have it perfect. We are going to also use a ruler with this, so that's going to help us make sure our straight sides are straight. Or if you'd like, you can take it down to a UPS center or something like that, and they'll make a copy of it for you. If you are working off of a digital copy, they sell digital versions of the book through Martingale. If you search Martingale Publishers and then you search for Make It Mini, their website, Martingale is unfortunately going out of business, but their website, I believe, is still up, and you can purchase a digital copy of the book through them, which is great if you're international. So then you would have all the files, and you can just print out the copies of the pages. My big tip for that is make sure you're printing at 100%. You don't want to print out your design unless you want it smaller or larger, which you can do. You can play with it. But if you want it to be the size of the measurements in the book, and so all your sashing and borders fit correctly, you want to print it out at 100%. Okay? So the other thing I will say is, if you want to double check that your measurement is correct, this piece that we have here, that is our A piece, and that is the print piece. You can see here, this is our print piece. This is our background piece here. Our print piece is 4.5 inches wide and tall. So that's why it works out really great for 5-inch stackers too. So if you want to double check your measurements, you're going for 4.5 inches on that piece. If you want to cut out all of your background fabric at once, your background pieces are 3 inches wide. So you can cut a strip of fabric 3 inches by your width of your fabric, and then just cut 16 pieces that are 3-inch by 3-inch squares. That's going to make cutting your background fabric a little bit easier as well. So And I can't remember if that's in the book or not. Hopefully I'm not repeating things that are all written out for you guys. Okay, so what you can do to cut out your paper pattern is you can grab a rotary cutter. I like to keep, and I didn't grab my second one. I like to keep an older rotary cutter on hand that has an older blade, and it's good. You can, put your older blades after they're not cutting as well. You can put your older blades on that older rotary cutter. Especially like check the thrift stores or places like that if you want to, or buy like kind of a cheapy discount one at Walmart. You keep your good one, your Olfa, for all your fabric, but then use like a less expensive one for paper. It works great. There's no reason that you can't use a rotary cutter on paper. So what you can do is just carefully cut your sides of your template out with your rotary cutter. So I'm just lining up my ruler with the lines on here, and I've cut out the 3 sides, and then I would just continue cutting her out, but then I would grab scissors. You can use a rotary cutter, especially if it's a small blade, on curves. I personally feel like I'm a little bit more accurate with scissors, but I know a lot of people feel comfortable cutting out curves with rotary cutters. So please feel free to do whatever you are most comfortable with. Also, if you have the ability, I do print a couple copies of this because you're going to kind of cut close to your wreath pattern and things like that. So, and if you make a mistake cutting, it's nice just to have a secondary, a second pattern to grab if you want to. Okay, so I already have my templates cut out here. So I'm actually going to stand up since I can, because I would really prefer to stand while cutting. And now that we have this nice overhead area, it's a whole lot easier for me to do this standing than it is to do it not. So let's grab this pretty green. I love this mane. I am using a 5-inch stacker, so I am going to go ahead and center my design in here and cut out all 4 sides with the design centered. And the reason I'm doing that is because if I don't have to fuss with trying to guess where on the pinking line the 5-inch stacker should line up, then I'm not going to. Like, I'm just going to trim that off because I'm not going to, even if I moved it all the way over here, it's not like I would be saving that much fabric. So I'm just not messing with that. So if you are using yardage or fabric that you've cut yourself and you want to go ahead and cut it at 4.5 inches, then you're not going to have to do a couple of these cuts. That'll save you a little bit of time. So what I like to do is place my ruler on top of my template and line it up really good so that I can make sure that my lines are accurate. And that was what I was saying as far as when you're cutting it out, don't worry a whole lot about if you're cutting it out entirely by scissors or if you've traced it, because your ruler's going to fix a lot of that or correct any mistakes that you made. So all you need to do is trim off 2 sides. You can do that at once. Just make sure that you have your fingers back. You never want your fingers above the edge of your ruler. Excuse me. Now I'm going to cut these 2 sides at once. So I'm cutting these 2 short sides. I'm going to line my ruler back up. And you want to just be careful when you set it down because you can shift your template if you're not careful, but you're also looking to line up the edges that you already cut with your 4.5-inch lines on your ruler. And if you don't have a small trimming ruler or squaring up ruler that is this is the one I grabbed the most, it's my 6.5-inch, then I recommend picking one up. It is really nice for something like this. So then I am going to go ahead and use my scissors to cut this last curve spot. Again, you can use your rotary cutter Or if you feel like you want it to be even more accurate, you can trace this edge with a marking pen and then just cut on your marked line. So whatever you feel most comfortable with, that's what I recommend. So now I have my piece cut, and I need to also cut one of my background pieces. So I've gone ahead and cut 3-inch squares for my background pieces, and I'm going to place my little template on here, and now all I have to do is cut that curved edge. So again, you can, I'll show you the marked line method, and I'm using just a easy, like, disappearing ink pen. So all you have to do is trace that, and then you can cut on that marked line. And that makes it easy so that you don't have to feel like you have to hold the template perfectly in order to get a great cut. And you want to be as accurate as possible, but you also don't want to freak out if it's not perfect. There's a little bit of grace here. Give yourself a little bit of grace. Dawn says she uses her 6.5-inch ruler the most too. Yay, Dawn, we're twins. Jeanette says that looks easier. It is a little bit easier. So now what we're going to do is we're going to line up these two pieces, and you can see that it looks odd here, right? Like, let me put it on my wool mat so you can see a little bit better. I have all my little templates here. So don't freak out. Your piece does look like there's no way on earth that it's actually going to line up, but it does, I promise you. So I'm going to grab some pins, and I'm going to pin this sitting here so you can see what we're going for. I'm also going to pick up Lindy's pin cushion so it's not on the floor. Okay, I'm going to do this over here. So what I recommend doing with your pinning is, this is where you really do want to use pins. I promise your piecing will be a lot more accurate if you go ahead and pin your curved pieces in place. So what you want to do is find the center. This is going to be one seam. This is going to be, well, this is where our seams are going to be. And so we're trying to line this all up. So we're going to sew this together basically like this. So we need to find the halfway point of both these things. So I'm going to finger press my background piece. So now I have a little crease there. And I'm going to fold my print piece in half, and I'm lining up my two short sides, and I'm finger pressing that in place. So now I have two little creases that I am going to line up. So I'm going to take my background piece and I'm going to place it on top of my print piece. So you can see, let's see if I can get that. So you can see where those creases kind of match up, and I'm going to put a pin right there. Now I want this piece to line up with this short side of my print piece. So I'm going to take this end right here, and I'm going to line these two up. And I'm not going to worry about what's happening here because it looks like a big giant clump of fabric that will never ever meet up. I'm going to do the exact same thing over here. I'm just twisting, sorry, let me get my hands at the right angle here for you guys. I'm twisting this so that this straight side of this background piece lines up with the short side of this side. And I'm going to put another pin right here. Okay, so now we have 3 pins and what looks like a mess underneath here. Lots of fabric. It's going to be fine. Okay, Lisa says she's never done curves. We're going to get you here, Lisa. Okay, so now we're going to go to the sewing machine. But I kind of almost gave away my biggest tip here. We're going slow. This is not a like speed race where you're going to sew these perfectly straight seams really fast like Jenny Doan does, okay? She's so fast, you guys. We are taking this very slow because the slower and more careful we sew this curved seam, the more accurate it's going to be. So let's go to the sewing machine and... Okay, that was weird. It did like a weird thing. Okay, you guys, I am at the sewing machine. I don't want to bump the camera. Hopefully you guys can still hear me okay. Okay, so here is what our curved piece looks like. Over here, this is the front, this is the back, and you can kind of see how the fabric, because that curve is cut on the bias, is sort of following the lines of where we need it to go. The biggest thing we need to be cautious of as we're sewing is to not basically make a pleat in this as we sew it down. So we really want to avoid that. I find it's a little bit easier to control my piece if I am sewing with this smaller piece, which in this case is my background fabric, facing up on the machine. You're going to use your fingers a lot to kind of feel where those pleats need to be sort of smoothed out as you sew, but it is very doable. If you find as you're practicing that you are ending up with a lot of pleats, then flip your block over and sew on this side. That's going to help you be more accurate as far as that. So I'm going to go ahead and place this on my machine. I'm going to remove that first pin because now my presser foot is holding the pieces in place and I don't need to have it in there. So you're doing a 1/4 inch seam just like on regular blocks. And so I'm just going to take a couple stitches and I'm just going slow. You can see how slow I'm going. Now I'm going to feel with my thumb, make sure I don't have any creases. It's okay if you have like a little press crease, but you don't want to actually sew a pleat into it, if that makes sense. If you need to adjust your presser foot, you can lift it if it's feeling like your fabric's bogging up. So I'm just going to continue sewing. You can speed up a little bit. You don't have to go crazy slow, but I do recommend going as slow as you can this first time. So continue to sew. If you need to adjust your presser foot, then do so. But you're just going to continue sort of feeling with your thumb, feeling with your fingers where your fabric is lining up. If you want to add more than 3 pins, if you feel like that gives you a little bit more control, then you go ahead and do that. It's totally fine. You can pin at each end, pin at the center, and then, you know, in the middle if you want. So I've just kept turning, I've kept lifting my presser foot, and now I'm back at the other end, and I'm going to go ahead and take that pin out because I don't like to sew over pins. And I'm going to go ahead and finish sewing all the way off. So now when I open up my block, it is wrinkled because, you know, there's all those pieces that are that you've tried to ease in, but you can see that you have a very pretty little square of fabric and it's made this cute curve in it. So let me go over to the presser. Let me just get my other camera here. Okay, so here is what we've made. Now in the book, I said to press towards the background fabric. You can really press a curved block either direction, but the more of these that I make, the more I like pressing it to the print fabric. It does hide the seam a little bit. So I am just going to go ahead and press here towards my print fabric. Now, you can do this on this side as well. You don't want to pull on your fabric. That seam is on the bias. Sorry, I wasn't over in front of the camera. It is on the bias, so you don't want to distort your seam any more than, you know, you have to. You don't want to distort it at all. So that gives you a good press and it gives you a pretty little block. So that's really all there is to these blocks, is just taking things slow and easing your curves as you go. I have a couple tips for you if you would like to practice. So, well, that's one of my first tips, is I highly recommend grabbing some scrap fabric, both background and print, and practice. Don't, or, you know, if you have extra in your 5-inch stackers and you want to practice, you know, of your print that your quilt top is going to be, that's fine, you know, because if it turns out great, then you can use it. But I do recommend making one or two, easing those curves, just kind of getting the feel of how to feel your way through sewing that seam and easing the easing it into the curve, I guess. Does that make sense? So the other thing that you can do is you can cut your background fabric and your curved piece, your background fabric and your print fabric just a little bit larger. Now, I recommend if you do that, keep your curve. You're going to have to keep your curve the same. But if you want to add a little bit of fabric on the other 1, 2, 3, 4 sides, don't adjust your curve, but keep, you know, follow the curve the same way, then you can make them a little bit bigger and then trim them down. So if you want to practice doing that, don't stress too much about this. There's only 16 of these in this block. The beauty of this quilt, let me find the original. The beauty of this quilt is that we don't have to match up our curves except for right here. So the nice thing about this is if this curve seam isn't exactly like this one, it doesn't matter. As long as they're, 4.5 inches by the time you're done, and you can do a little bit of trimming if you need to, you can. But really, these are the only 4 that have to match up a seam here, 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 and here. So if you have a couple that are a little bit funky, don't put them in the center. And we'll talk more about that this next week. But give yourself some grace. It doesn't have to be perfect, because really no one is going to be able to tell that these aren't exactly the same all over the rest of the quilt. The only place your eye will see it is on those 4 seams. So we're gonna take it. Yeah, Laura says she loves that they don't match up. Yes, that was the exact point of this. I wanted this to be a very beginner-friendly curved piece. So, and it is, unless you want them all to make them all line up. You can, it's your quilt, so you can do whatever you'd like. Jeanette said, doesn't that normally go that way when you press? You can do it either way. Because of the way this curve is, you can press towards the background fabric. If you're using really light prints and a dark background, feel free to press towards the, the background piece. It doesn't matter a whole lot on this quilt. On this one, on this quilt that I made for the book, I did press the seams, which you can't even see, but I did press them towards the background fabric. So on this particular block, sorry about the mic, I hope that didn't cause you guys a problem. I bumped it with the quilt. It's very flexible. So let me go back to the front camera. I want to make sure that I haven't missed any questions. Kathy said, mastering these curves would open up an opportunity to do so many more in different patterns. She loves them and agrees practice would be essential. Yay, I'm so glad, Kathy. That's awesome. And Allison's excited. She said this is going to be so much fun to make. Let's see. Janice says she has a problem with the top fabric going beyond the back fabric. Okay, so when you end up sewing and you are, let me go back. So when you end up sewing, you're finding that your pieces are extending out, right? Is that what you're saying, Janice? So my big tip would be to pin a little bit more. Try and use to keep your pins in until the last possible minute, and be careful when you're pinning that you are lining up these sides, this side of your background fabric and the short side of your print as, as straight as you can. If you need to, you can do some trimming. If your block is still pretty close to 4.5 inches, just cut that extra off. I promise no one will know. It'll be our secret. It'll be fine. Okay, so yes, keeping the top and bottom. So just use your pins and don't take them out until you get really close to sewing over the pin, and that will help keep your sides lining up. You can see if you look really close, my background fabric does extend just a little bit past my print fabric. I'm not going to stress about that. We want to be close to accurate, but we also don't want to be so worried about being perfect that we lose the fun in it, right? Okay, y'all, this is all there is to it. So your assignment this week is to make up 16 of these cute little blocks. They're so fun, and I think you'll find that they're quite addicting to sew. It almost takes longer to cut them out than it does to get them all sewn once you get going. Do your practice blocks, make a couple, and then just dive in. Please, please, please share the photos of your blocks in the Facebook group if you want to. We would love to see them and cheer you on for successful curve sewing. And if you have any problems, please email me. I'm always happy to help. You guys know that. So that is our video for the week. Nice and quick and easy. Next week, we're going to talk about layout and we're going to sew them together. And where you can sew up your whole entire top and add the borders, or you can add the borders after you do the embroidery. It's very flexible around here. But you do need to sew your blocks up so we can sew them together next week, because the embroidery on this quilt has to be done after the center is sewn up. All right, y'all. Thanks so much for tuning in with me on a Wednesday night. Don't forget to leave a comment if you would like to be entered for the giveaway for this week. If you are sewing along with our Country Daisy Sew Along, those are on Mondays. That is a regular quilt, and it is so fun. You guys, we had the first block this week. Block 2 is next week, and it's going to be a really fun one. We're going to practice our flying geese, and I will see you guys on Monday. Otherwise, I'll see you back here next Wednesday for sewing up the quilt top. Super easy. All right, thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your week. Bye.